up in Floyd's face. I know he's going to make a lot of money, people, and I know Floyd likes money, but he also has an ego, and the UFC is going to have full leverage on the
propaganda machine. Yes. And the propaganda will be going crazy. Look what they're doing to Paulie Malignaggi.
Yep. Yes,
for a couple sparring sessions. Imagine what they're doing.
You know what I wanted to say about that sparring session? You guys, it was a 12-round sparring session, and they released a 16-second video.
Yep. Look, like I said, I saw a lot more of that video than's been released. Right. Don't get me wrong. Look, I'm not sitting here to try and convince anyone that Conor McGregor is some technical whiz. He's going to hop in there and look like, the son of God busting people up, with the movement and in and out and his defensive work. And he's going to, show this new style nobody's ever seen before. Look, this kid's coming to scrap, bro. This kid is coming to scrap like we do in the Bronx. This motherfucker is coming to bust you in your shit. This dude is, look, he's coming out there like the perennial pissed off, bullied kid his whole life who got beat on by his father. I'm not coming out there to box with you, dude. I'm coming out there to throw these fucking fists, and whatever happens, happens. That's his mindset coming into this fight.
Victor Ortiz had that game plan and was successful for a little bit. Was able to trap Floyd, was able to land a few shots, even a headbutt. Marcos Maidana. So, yes, there were two fighters later in Floyd's career that were able to get there just by, it seemed, all pressure. That Victor Ortiz fight, there was not a lot of skill into that bum rush, right? If anyone remembers that one, he kind of just goes straight forward into Floyd. And even Floyd's like looking at the ref. He's looking for help, and there's not really nothing they can do. The guy's just moving in on you too fast. Floyd wasn't ready. I don't think he was prepared for the way Victor Ortiz came out in that fight. Once again, though, after the things happened, Floyd adjusted and knocked him out when his hands were down. That's typical Floyd.
Like I said, if it goes late, there's no way he's not going to be able to box with this unless he lands a Hail Mary. Floyd's showboating him or something. He lands a Hail Mary. I mean, hell. And like I said,
we will say we've talked about 3 times that there are pressure fighters on Floyd Mayweather. We have to put out there people. 2 of them ended with Floyd knocking out the opponent, Victor Ortiz and Ricky Hatton. So there are 3 opponents that you can put up there, but Floyd actually had his way with 2 of them. So it's a go ahead.
I really just have a hard time believing that Floyd's going to be able to hurt Conor McGregor with his punches. He's such a bigger guy. He's used to the smaller gloves. Now, don't get me wrong. If they start piling it up, I could see a TKO, like you were saying, in the middle rounds, 9th round, something like that.
Yes, but so many jab right hands.
Yeah, look, he ain't going to starch this kid, though. I mean, as great as Floyd is, his fists aren't his weapon, and I believe that the early going of that fight is going to tell a huge story, because if Conor feels Floyd's right and it doesn't affect him, I feel like Conor's not going to have any respect for this dude at all, and he's just going to walk forward. And he might get clipped and knocked out, like you said, with a great combination, because Floyd definitely has the ability to do that. But the flip side to that is, if he doesn't feel this dude's power and he starts walking through him and he starts building that confidence up, feeling like he can trap him against the ropes or against the corner and start landing big shots. And let's not forget, he has to do body work, boys. He can't forget the body. He has to strafe this guy's body when they're against the ropes.
When he's against the ropes, I hear you. Go to work. He's got to go to work when he's on the ropes.
Absolutely. It has to look like, remember in the old punch out, not Tyson's punch out, but the old one in the arcade, body blow, body blow, body blow. It has to do it the whole entire fight.
All right.
Because a guy like Floyd, his wheels are just too good. If you don't break him down.
When I talk Floyd by stoppage, the only reason why is I'm talking accuracy of the right hand, and that's something that I think MMA fighters are still missing. They have punch, they have smaller gloves, they get knockouts. But when you're talking about some of the best punchers in the game, these things, he's going to get chin checked on that in 2 Saturdays from now, like he never has before. I promise you that. He's going to say that. He's already said he's never been in a fight like this before. I promise you, after this fight, you guys, he's going to say he's never been hit on the chin like that before, because boxers know how to land a punch. They do it their whole lives. This is what they get paid to do. This is not something that they practice for 3 hours out of a training session. I believe Floyd is going to hit Conor. It's the same thing that in the Holmes versus Ronda Rousey fight. Ronda Rousey had never been hit like that, and whoever watches that fight, it's in the first round that fight ends. She gets rocked. They see it. They say she gets rocked. But if you watch Rousey's performance after that punch, it's never the same. Every punch after that hurts her because her brain had already been jarred. She had never been punched like that. And I think Conor's going to see the same kind of effects when he fights Floyd. It has nothing to do with power. It's going to be more about where the punch lands consistently. We're one after another. At some point, if Conor can, if his defense isn't on point, and I don't believe it is, he's going to eat way too many in this fight stops. Or like Lee says, I think it's best for Conor to probably throw a knee or an elbow, get DQ'd immediately, and call it quits. Sort of like what Victor Ortiz tried. He got frustrated, threw a headbutt. George Cortez didn't DQ him immediately, though.
Well, I agree with all you said, but on the flip side of that, this is a 40-year-old man, and I don't think he's ever going to feel power like he's about to feel from Conor McGregor. He's fought some powerful guys. Those guys, who's landed flush on him? Canelo didn't hit him flush. This is an older man.
That's the whole thing about Floyd. Yes, I know. That's one of his advantages.
But he's 40 years old now.
I know what you're saying. You know, I wanted the UFC to string this out until next year. I kept telling Lee, before this fight was signed, that I thought the UFC was stringing it out because St. Paddy's Day falls on a Saturday in 2018. And I thought they were going to try to get Floyd because they have the money. See, Floyd needs the money. See, people don't understand. He's always in debt. So as long as you have a $200 million payday carrot in front of this man, he's probably going to chase it. So you string it out. I'm right with you. I've said it before. His timing is a big part of his fighting. If he's off the slightest, yes, he is going to get touched. I hear you, bro.
It's just like with any other, in certain sports, it's the power goes first. Then the speed goes first in other sports. With boxing, with a guy like Floyd, if he was been active for the last 2 years, I wouldn't even be having this conversation with you guys, to be honest with you. I would go put whatever money I had in my bank account on Floyd Mayweather if this guy's been active for the last 2 years.
And for my boxing diehards, I'll give them an example of what Bobby's talking about. Look at what Andre Ward looked like coming in off of just one fight prepared for Kovalev compared to when he had 2 fights to Kovalev. He went from a close decision victory to a knockout. So, yes, It is about timing and lack of fighting.
Especially for a guy like Floyd, like you mentioned, he's such a guy that relies on his timing and his defense and countering off of that great movement that, if he's even a couple milliseconds off against a young cat like this, he's going to get touched. And I'm not saying he's going to get, Conor's going to knock him out in one punch. He's going to get touched, though. I guarantee he's getting hit in this fight.
All right. Let's talk about this from the technical aspects. Where are we at on the betting? What do the lines look like right now, Bobby?
There's a lot of fluctuating lines right now. I bet Conor when the fight first opened at plus 750, and then I got it at plus 450 again. But I also have a couple of round prop bets going for Floyd Mayweather as well. Like Andrew was saying, with TKOs in the middle rounds, I think that's definitely possible. And there's some good odds there. You can find Floyd in the middle rounds, 12-1, 15-1 to knock him out. Oh. So, there's some good lines out there. And then, of course, there's the trap bet. The guy looking for the big payday. Fuck, I'm gonna bet McGregor because that's in my heart. And, he's my favorite fighter. I'm looking at this from a purely live dog standpoint. I look at everything, as you guys know, from a betting standpoint when I'm looking at these fights.
Right.
Andrew's much more of a guy that watches these boxing matches. And, he knows the ins and the outs of boxing the way I know the ins and the outs of MMA. And this, I'll never even attempt to think I know more than Andrew about boxing. Impossible. But when I look at these fights from a wagering standpoint, though, I look for live dogs in fights, and what I try and I try and find fights like this, for example, where the line fluctuates, and then you can get yourself a nice little scalp. You know what I mean? Find yourself a little bit of middle ground.
I will tell you guys this. Breaking news, Lee. You ready?
Yeah.
Someone placed a $880,000 bet on Floyd Mayweather I think it was last night or the night before in Las Vegas.
I don't know if that's going to be enough to shift. Look, and Bobby knows
it should.
This. No, because here's the thing, and we talked about it on a previous show. I am telling you that there are people who have hedge funds and use Floyd Mayweather as a clean way of making 10 or 20% on their money. Like it's a no-brainer, 10 to 20. Right now, in this fight, he's a 20% maker. Like, that's as easy money as it. And here's why: he's undefeated. It's kind of a sure thing. He hasn't lost. He hasn't demonstrated, and he always loses. He always wins by decision consistently. But Bobby knows this, and I know this. Like, if you've got $1 million sitting in a bank, and you got a guy who wins, and it's going to pay you 10 or 20%, I know that we as fans look at it and go, "Oh, I'm only going to make $10 on a $100 bet. That's a terrible bet." Not if you got $1 million. It's a great bet. Look, it's better than you're going to make in a bank.
Let me tell you what. I can't tell you how many times I've seen crazy stuff happen in the sports book in my time working as the manager there. I had one guy come in when I was manager on the beginning of college football. It was like a MAC game, and it was a huge favorite. The team was like minus 900, right? Yeah. So the guy comes up to the window, says to my ticket writer, he says, "I want to put $90,000 a money line bet on." I forget what the team was, and it was to win him $10,000. I was like, absolutely, definitely, we take the bet, right? Well, what do you know? Loses his money. And I've seen it so many times, people trying to steal money on sporting events where they shouldn't just go and bet on Floyd. It's almost
Floyd has not demonstrated anything but winning.
For his bets, well, it says this, Lee. It says, if the heavily favored Mayweather wins, those wagers, which were placed as two $440,000 bets, would bring back a return of just $160K.
And you can't make that in a bank. You can't.
Yeah.
Look, I invest in real estate all the time, and I'm telling you, to make 10 or 20% on a real estate transaction.
Hey, Bobby, what if we invested in Bitcoin?
Oh, bro. Bitcoin is where you want to be at. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, bro. $3,800 peak, dropped down to around $3,720. It was 0.8 cents a coin when it first came out in 2010, bro.
I remember when they were making fun of that on the John Oliver show. Had a special on it. It was so every time you post about that, I always remember that. They were clowning that thing, and now look at if you invested in it, damn, they're a billionaire overnight.
I wish I bought more. I'll just put it to you like that. When I bought it kind of as a gas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is kind of cool cryptocurrency. You know, I'm into all that kind of crazy, wacky shit. So I was like, all right, boy, if I would have known, let me tell you, I'd have been changing the line. Yeah, exactly right.
All right, how much does this line change as we get closer? Do the crazy ass white people bet up McGregor? I mean, when do I start seeing that MMA money and really? Because let's be realistic. I'm going to take the sure bet. Floyd is the sure bet. I'm not saying that Conor doesn't have a first. Like, I like the first 4 rounds. I also like the DQ a lot, which gets me TKO KO money if I bet on Floyd, which I think is like the TKO KO money on Floyd seems to be the really good bet, because I honestly think that if McGregor gets frustrated, his game plan is, I'm taking the DQ. No way this goes the distance.
Early. I'm totally with you. I think if Floyd gets touched, it's like Bobby said, it's going to be because he's a little older. He came in too cold, and the other guy was a firecracker. So look at the early rounds if you want to gamble.
Are there overs-unders on this thing at all?
Right.
Bobby,
he said they have prop bets. Yeah.
Oh, they have a million prop bets, too. I don't have a sheet on me right now, but I'll tell you what. I'll grab a sheet, and I'll send one over to you, Lee.
No, nice. We'll do it. Let's do another update again next week. I mean,
let's do it.
I'd rather do a show on the BJJ Grand Prix, and everybody listening is going, we don't care. We don't care.
I care.
I care. I do.
I care.
I think Saturday. I think Saturday might be the greatest day for me personally. You can't get better. The final day of the Masters tournament for IBJJF, the Grand Prix of the best 8 guys in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. An MMA guy is fighting a boxing guy. All the boxing people swear they're going to be at StubHub watching Cotto and Kamagai. I can't wait for the 26th on paper. Like on paper,
this weekend,
that's like whipped cream on top of ice cream. I mean, it's
Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya would look like the greatest promoter if he could get that place sold out by buying his own tickets.
Way.
No, buy them. Lee, buy your own seats and give them away. And don't tell anyone. Do not
Oh
tell
no,
anyone,
he has
you guys.
to. No, I think he has to.
I'm serious. He's a fool.